Hi everyone, greetings to our special friends at Lilyfontein School, especially the young leadership team. Guys and girls, my name is Marc Morrell. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you in person today, but circumstances didn't make that possible. But at least we can connect via technology, and knowing you young people, you are all so familiar with technology, it's going to be a walk in the park for you. But I want to share some leadership principles with you today. Remember, leadership is a journey. We're learning and discovering and growing in our leadership ability each and every day. And these are some of the principles I've found over many years now of leadership that have really worked well and helped me on my journey of being the best possible leader that I can be. Before I share those principles with you, remember, although you are elected leaders, which is great and it's a wonderful achievement, leadership is more than a title. Leadership actually, by definition, is influence. So if you take that definition, leadership equals influence. All of us are leaders in different capacities because all of us have got the opportunity each and every day in different areas of life to influence people positively or negatively, and I trust that you'll be a positive influence, positive leaders upon your school and upon your generation going forward. So, young people, let's get stuck into principle number one. If you are taking notes, here comes number one. Get ready to write it down. As a leader, recognize that you can't do everything, but you can do something. There's a good principle to start off with. You can't do everything, but you sure can do something. So the whole key is to find your part on the team and make your unique contribution. Just think of a sports team, for example. In fact, let's think of our World Cup winning Springbok rugby team. Remember, Siya Kolisi led them to World Cup victory a couple of years ago. Now, just imagine if on the morning of that World Cup final match, that Faf de Klerk, who's the smallest guy on the team, he's a scrum half. Imagine if Faf de Klerk came to Rassie Erasmus, the coach, that day and said, "Coach, I'm tired of playing scrum half. Today I want to play lock." Now we know that for a lock you've got to be tall, and Faf is short, so he would have been totally out of position. Then imagine if, for example, Steven Kitshoff. We all know Steven Kitshoff plays in the front row. He's a prop forward. Imagine Steven Kitshoff came to Rassie on the morning of the World Cup final and said, "Coach, I'm tired of playing prop. Today in the World Cup final, I'm changing position and I'm playing fly half or I'm playing wing." The coach would have freaked his bean because those guys were in the team because they were good at specific things. They were tailor-made for their positions, as it were. And what happened on the day, if you remember, each person played their part and the result was collective success and the World Cup was lifted. And Siya Kolisi said, "It's amazing what we can achieve as South Africans when we all work together. When we all work together, finding our unique part on the team and doing that part well." So let me encourage you, young people, find your part on the leadership team at school. Find your part on the leadership team of life going forward, and you make your unique contribution in the way that God has wired you to make it. Remember, you'll never experience joy. It'll never be fun trying to run someone else's race. You see, we've all got different gifts, different personalities, different interests, different skills, different callings. So let me encourage you. Stop comparing yourself with other people. Because if you compare yourself with other people, what happens? Either it leads you to a place of pride where you think, "Well, I'm better than that person. I'm more advanced than that person," pride. Or it leads you to discouragement because you think, "Oh my goodness, that person's ahead of me. That person's better than me." And you develop an inferiority complex. Don't compare yourself with anyone else. Yes, we can learn from others. Yes, we can receive advice and encouragement and mentorship from others. That's wonderful. But rather determine in your heart to be the best you that you can be to the glory of God. How cool is that? Determined to be the best you that you can be to the glory of God. We can't do everything, but we sure can do something. Make your unique contribution on the leadership team. Principle number 2, and this is a very, very important one. Principle number 2 is the importance of laying strong foundations in life. I think we've seen over the last 18 months how unpredictable and how stormy life can be. Who would have imagined that we'd be sitting with masks on our face and socially distanced and sanitizing and lockdowns and all that life has thrown at us over the last 18 months. Life is full of unexpected surprises. Now remember that famous short story. Maybe you've heard the story before, but it's very famous, of those two builders. Let's call the one builder the wise builder and the other one the foolish builder. Now both those builders had the same vision in mind. They both wanted to achieve the same outcome. They both had the same dream in mind, and that dream, that goal, was to build a home, to build a family home. But if you know the story, those two builders went about the building process in two completely different ways. The wise builder took his time. He sourced good building materials, he probably budgeted correctly, but most importantly, he chose a strong, firm piece of ground upon which to build his home. He laid strong foundations. The other guy, remember, had the same dream, he wanted the same outcome, but he went about the process differently. He sourced inferior building materials, he didn't plan or budget properly, but most importantly, he paid no attention to his foundations, to the ground upon which he was building. But to the casual observer, to people who looked at those two homes, nobody could tell the difference initially. They both looked the way houses look, with doors and windows and cement and garages and gardens. Nobody could tell the difference. But the difference was exposed when the storm arrived. And as the wind began to blow and the rain began to beat and the flood waters began to rise, the wise man's house stood while the foolish man's house failed and collapsed. And the moral of the story is, when you're looking to build something in life, whatever that might be, you're looking to build on strong foundations, because you know in the back of your mind, the storms of life are real, they are inevitable, they cannot be ignored. They will arrive at some stage or another. So the wise leader prepares proactively. What does that mean? Prepares in advance for the stormy seasons of life. So when those storms arrive, they don't break you. No, they build you and make you stronger. So on your leadership team, both individually and collectively as a team, make sure you're laying strong foundations and you're preparing well for what lies ahead in the future. Right, what's the next principle we can have a look at? The next principle is really what I call a countercultural principle. In other words, this goes against the flow, it goes against the grain of our society, and that is to create a culture of thanksgiving. Create a culture of thanksgiving. You can put there in brackets, develop an attitude of gratitude. How's that for a motto to live your life by? Develop an attitude of gratitude. What does that mean? That means choose to be grateful. Often being grateful is a choice. So often we're so worried and so concerned about all the things we don't have, all the things we think we should have, or all the things we think we need, and we forget to take stock and to appreciate all the things we already do have. Do you know that if you're watching this video today, more than likely you are among the 5% of the most privileged people on the face of the earth? So many opportunities, so many resources available to us. Don't live with an attitude of entitlement, a spirit of self-centeredness or selfishness. I would encourage you to develop an attitude of gratitude. Imagine you woke up every morning, and before you thought about all the things you think you need, just take a moment to think of 5 things, just 5 things that you can be grateful for. And list those 5 things, name them. And there's an old song that we used to sing years and years ago. It says, count your blessings, name them one by one, and it just might surprise you what the Lord has done. I encourage you, young leaders, develop a mindset that is not a mindset of entitlement. Don't be a consumer, be a contributor. Don't be a taker, be a giver, and go make a difference in your generation. Live with an attitude of gratitude. Well, principle number 3 is incredibly powerful if you get it right. And that is people, not projects. People, not projects. What do I mean by that? I mean by that we need to learn in life to recognize the value and potential of other human beings, especially other human beings who are different to us, who look different to us, who speak a different language, who follow a different culture, who believe in a different religion. All these different factors, learn to recognize the value and potential of other human beings. Remember, you can't make somebody valuable. Your opinion doesn't make somebody valuable and doesn't make somebody not valuable. They are valuable beyond your opinion because they've been made in the image of God and they carry the glory of God upon their lives. They've got huge intrinsic value and potential. Now, yes, we know that value and potential may be hidden, may be disguised by certain factors. But if you look hard enough, you'll discover the diamond in everybody's life, and then learn to speak to that diamond. Learn to speak to the potential in people's lives and draw that potential out of them. As leaders, that's such a valuable tool to have, to look at someone and say, I don't just see you for who you are today, I also see who you can become, and I'm going to speak to your potential, I'm going to develop your gifting, and I'm going to draw you along the road to make you the best possible version of yourself that you can possibly be. Learn to recognize the value and potential of other human beings. I used to be a teacher way out in eastern Turkey, a very cold place, bitterly cold, and sometimes during my walk to and from school, I would come across a little street child, a little guy called Ali. Ali was about 8, 9 years old, and he came from a very poor family, very poor background, and he would be out in the bitter cold, snowy, icy cold, dressed in just disheveled clothes, not a good pair of shoes, no warm jacket. And he was out on the streets trying to sell little packets of tissues to people on the streets for a few Turkish lira, which he would then take home to his parents and help to support the family. But this little boy and I developed such a close relationship because I looked into Ali's eyes and I saw a young boy with incredible potential. I just knew there was something, a diamond in this boy's heart that needed to be developed and needed to be nurtured. And so every time I saw Ali, I would remind him, Ali, you are valuable, you are precious, you've got so much potential, you've got so much gifting. Ali, I can see you going places in life. And I just loved him and in a sense, unofficially mentored him. You know what, young people, I didn't see Ali for a period of time. I left the city and came back about 10 years later. And by that time, Ali had matriculated. He was about 19 at the time, and he became a young man. And as I was walking down the streets, this young man approached me. Initially, I didn't recognize him. And he said, Mark, do you recognize me? I'm Ali. And I looked at Ali and I saw this young boy had developed into a young man. And he said, Mark, you won't believe it. I took a university entrance exam and I passed that exam. And I'm now a first-year law student at the university in Eastern Turkey. I'm studying to become a lawyer. He was dressed in smart clothes. He looked very well dressed and handsome. And he just said, Mark, thank you. When I was young, when I was poor, when I had nothing, you believed in me. You loved me. You reminded me of my potential and value. And I want to thank you for that because look where I am today. Young people, all of us can do that. That's part of leadership. Looking at those who are weaker, looking at those who maybe have been left behind, looking at those who are different to us, and bringing them along by speaking words of life and hope and drawing that potential out of them. I'm sure that you can do that. People, not projects. Well, the next one is very much a principle that flows from that, and that is bridges, not barriers. Let me say that again. Bridges, not barriers. Now, when you think about a bridge, what do you think of? A bridge unites people. A bridge brings people together. A bridge creates opportunities for crossing over, for learning, for discovering, for friendship. A bridge is a wonderful thing that brings two separate areas or two separate pieces of ground and makes it possible for there to be connection and a transport, a flowing of ideas and people and all kinds of things. What do barriers do? Well, barriers do the complete opposite. Barriers divide people. Barriers separate people. Barriers keep people apart. Let me encourage you as young leaders. We're living in a world where there's so much division, there is so much contention, there is so much polarization, there's so much pride. South Africa needs young leaders just like you who will be bridge builders. May God help you in your context to be a bridge builder, looking for opportunities to bring people together, to learn, to discover, and to grow together. Right. And here we come to our last principle, I think, for the day, and that is intentional living. Intentional living. Another way of saying that is learning to live your life on purpose for a purpose. Learning to live your life on purpose for a purpose. As leaders, you need to have a clear picture, a clear goal, a clear vision for your life. A vision for your leadership team. What are you trying to achieve at school as being part of this leadership team? What dream do you have for the school? What dream do you have for the future? What dream do you have for your fellow students and for your own life? Everything begins with a vision. You begin to live every day in the light of that vision. In other words, the vision, the dream drives the process. How can I lead others effectively if I don't know where I'm going? In fact, there's a saying that kind of speaks to that, which says the blind leading the blind. If I don't know where I'm going as a leader, how can I possibly lead you effectively? So maybe as a team, get some thought time together, have a think tank, a dream session together. What are we trying to achieve as leaders? What is our goal individually and collectively? And let's allow that vision, that dream to drive our process. Many years ago now, on the 28th of August 1963, a young leader, a guy by the name of Martin Luther King Jr., stood in front of 250,000 people in Washington, D.C., and he delivered a powerful speech in which he said, "I have a dream." Wow, just those words. This young leader speaking to 250,000 people, I have a dream. What was Martin Luther's dream? His dream was to see racism ended in the US and for everyone from any background to be given equal rights and equal opportunities. I have a dream. Do you have a dream? Do you have a vision? You see, if you don't have a vision for your life, you're failing before you even get started. Young people, let me close by giving you an equation. I know that you do maths at school and you're used to equations. Here's a wonderful equation to live your life by, especially in terms of vision. The equation is C, the letter C, plus R equals O. So just imagine that C plus R equals O. What does the C stand for? The C stands for my current circumstances. In other words, where I find myself today, for better or for worse, this is my current situation. There's my C. Write it down. This is where things stand today. The O stands for what? The O stands for outcome. There's your dream. There's your vision. That's what you're wanting to be. That's what you're wanting to achieve. Now, You've got your C where you currently are. You've got your O, that's where you want to be. Now in the middle, sandwiched, is the letter R, and that stands for response. What do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to bridge the gap between C and O? In other words, to make what I'm dreaming about a reality. Write down those practical steps. Often they're practical things, maybe books you need to read, maybe people you need to speak to, maybe courses you need to take, whatever it might be. But learn to proactively act upon that vision. Don't settle for the C when the O is just around the corner. Get some response in place to bridge the gap and to make your dreams become a reality. Right. One final thought as I wrap it up. Somebody once said, there are two dates in life we are powerless to change. The day we were born and the day we will eventually die. We are powerless to control those two dates. But what we can change is what's written in between. What did we choose to live for? What impact did our lives have upon the world? And what legacy do we leave for future generations? Young people, I hope you enjoyed those principles. It was a joy bringing them to you. And may God enable you and empower you to be wonderful leaders of influence in these challenging days. God bless you, and I hope to see you soon.